ready for another lesson?
What's up, everybody, and welcome back to Back Row Banter, your favorite casual movie talk podcast. I'm one of your hosts, Adam Schwartz. On this week's episode, we'll be talking about the movie Longlegs. But of course, before we get to any of that, I'm joined today by Nathaniel Gingrich.
Knock, knock. It's me, Nathaniel.
Oh.
No, I'm not the church. No. It's just me.
Would you like to hear about our Lord and Savior, Jesus Christ?
Would you like some more?
Would you like to know more?
Would you like to know more?
I need to rewatch that movie.
Starship Troopers?
I haven't rewatched that in a minute.
Mm.
I've got my 4K Steelbook over there that I think Back Row Banter may or may not have gifted me at one point.
I think that was Back Row Banter.
Yeah, I believe so. So I got to crack that open. Actually, it's opened because I got the digital code. Got to add that to the Voodoo, so I can watch it at any time when the times, when I'm called upon. All that. But yeah, I do need to rewatch that. It's a good one. Also joining us today, of course, is Triangle Ty, Tyler Vidalis.
Triangles. Particularly upside down ones.
What?
You'll find out.
Bit of sizzle for you. If you've seen any other Oz Perkins films, I feel like that dude just loves triangles.
I don't know. I'd have to look it up, honestly. Did they say what he did in the beginning?
What?
Like
Oz
in the beginning?
Perkins?
Yeah, did they say he... No, maybe that was previews. Maybe I was watching previews.
Oh, no, I don't think so.
I'll look it up.
All right.
What else has he done?
He did Gretel and Hansel. And he did The Black Coat's Daughter.
And I am the pretty thing that lives in the house.
Yeah.
Okay. I haven't seen any of those.
Then no.
He's done some solid work.
Maybe I haven't seen Gretel and Hansel.
I think
noted,
the
though.
majority of them are on Netflix, or they seem to go on there a lot, I feel like. I know Black Coat's Daughter was on there forever.
That was on Netflix for years at one point.
He's also an actor. Is he he's in Nope? Is he the director dude in Nope?
Yeah, he's the one at the start that is directing the commercial.
Got it. Oh, okay. So he's not like a main actor. He's more like he does side roles, kind of.
Yeah, I think he's just kind of buddies. Because I know I saw Del Toro talking about him on Twitter the other day and saying that they were good friends.
Good for Oz, man. Had himself a great career.
He obviously grew up in Hollywood as well too.
Right.
Obviously. It says he was born in New York, though.
Well,
care to comment?
Yeah. His father's director.
His father's an actor,
right?
Actor, director.
Actor. Yeah.
Got it.
His father played his father played Norman Bates in Psycho.
Right.
Oh, that's right. I don't know. Did you mention that to me?
I think we talked about it last episode. Yeah.
Yeah. Someone mentioned that, I think, last week. Cool. Noted. And then, of course, rounding out the squadron this week, we have big birthday BlakeHolder.
I was wondering what we were going to do today, but we'll take it.
Threw you off there. It is not Blake's birthday, in fact.
No.
Happy birthday.
So don't get yourself confused.
No.
If you are confused, good chance you haven't seen this movie.
Yeah.
So go ahead and do yourself a favor and do that, and then come back, and then you'll get the inside joke.
If you're going off the movie on this, though, there's some close similarities, right, to birthdays. I would say there's close proximity. We'll
quite a
leave
bit
it
of
there.
birthdays in this one.
Yeah.
You could say that. Birthday horror movie? I don't know if has there been
I'm pretty sure there's a one
on Happy Death Day.
Oh,
Is
yeah,
that her
I was gonna
birthday?
say, yeah.
It is her
I remember
birthday.
those. There's
Yeah.
two of those, aren't there?
They are. They're both
Yeah,
pretty
I've
good.
actually never seen the second one, and I heard it was actually much better than you would imagine.
The second one is very silly,
heard
but it's
they're
pretty
both
good as well
decent.
too.
Yeah.
Yeah. first one's not bad at all. So I should try to get to the second one.
Yeah, I've not seen either of those. There's also Smile. Is coming out with a sequel now.
Birthdays.
That is not about birthdays.
But also,
that's another one where I heard the first one's not as bad as you'd think, and it did well enough to get a sequel. So like,
not at all, dude. Where that's one I'm kind of with you. I didn't even see it in theater. Bad, but that film is much better and has just much more thickness to the plot than like I totally thought. I thought I was gonna go in and just watch like a jump scare film. An hour and a half.
I saw the it's what that movie is what Boogeyman how do I want to phrase this? That movie, The Boogeyman, is the bad version of Smile.
Yeah, I could probably that's what people thought Smile was gonna be.
That's how I was trying to say it. Yeah, exactly.
I don't know the Boogeyman movie, so
came out like last year. And like had a great trailer. Thought I was and like I went. Remember going.
Oh, I do remember that.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then it got terrible reviews and no one saw it.
Yeah, it was bad.
Yes, I do remember this now. It kind of looked like a bit of a it could be a Barbarian situation.
Yeah,
almost.
right. And the first trailer was pretty decent, but it turned out that was the best part of the movie.
Mm-hmm. I do know. In terms of Smile, though, I do think that is one of the most profitable of the past. Smile, because I think that one like crushed it at the box office. They had the crazy campaign of people being in public with weird smiles and shit. You know, I think they did some numbers in the box office.
Until this one, because this one just crushed.
Yeah, this has a chance, man.
Yeah,
has a chance.
They're doing good. It's the number one movie in America. After Despicable Me 4.
Yeah. Yeah, I saw that.
What a genius ad. I love that.
Yeah, right.
Because it's just like, it's self-aggrandizing, or is that the right term? Am I using I don't know if that's the right term, and then I don't know if I'm using it right.
That would be bigging yourself up.
Oh, okay. Then,
are you trying to say
I guess that's...
self-deprecating?
A mix of the two. I don't know what I was trying to say exactly, but it's self-aware.
Yeah, sure.
and funny either way. So yeah, no, definitely good ad to put out there. Everyone survived the land poon, as it was dubbed the other night.
I'm sorry.
What was that? The land poon.
Storm, I believe is what he's going for.
Yeah, but what two words are you mixing there?
Land, Land, poon, typhoon, land poon. I didn't make it up. This was something I saw from multiple people.
That's got to be an internet thing, though.
I don't like that.
It is very much an internet thing. I don't either. I just saw it, but that's what everyone was calling it.
It doesn't taste good. Doesn't feel good.
No.
Doesn't smell good.
No, not at all. That's a Gen Z thing.
Stop using
I'm gonna
that
go
term.
ahead and be the boomer of the room and be like, no, that's not cool.
It was people on Twitter.
I don't understand why typhoon isn't a good enough word for what it's describing.
Because typhoons, I think, can only happen when they form over the ocean.
Oh.
Let me look at that up.
Perhaps the word storm would suffice.
I would think.
I think you're right, and I also believe it has to do with the direction of the spin in typhoons.
So, you might be right. I think cyclones is what you're thinking of.
Okay.
Wait, maybe are they the same thing? A typhoon is a tropical cyclone that forms in the northwest Pacific Ocean, usually over East Asia.
Okay.
Typhoons are similar to hurricanes and tropical cyclones, which are all intensified tropical cyclones. The main difference between them is location. Hurricanes form in the North Atlantic, Central North Pacific, or Eastern North Pacific Oceans. Typhoons form in the Northwest Pacific Ocean, and tropical cyclones form in the South Pacific and Indian Ocean.
Huh. Well, there it is. We're a week too early on the storm definitions, but it may prevail and useful come next week.
Maybe. What was funny is I was in my Longlegs screening during the land poon, and could hear the rain and everything coming down on the roof. But then I was thinking about it afterwards, and I was like, what a crazy time to see Twisters if that was going on, because there were 10 tornadoes that touched down. Like that would have been a crazy experience, and I kind of hope we get another storm next weekend or this weekend.
That's crazy.
Yeah, I never thought I'd hope for one, but maybe we could time it up. But it looks like clear skies throughout the weekend, so unless I wait till I think Tuesday is the next time it rains. But what an immersive experience that would be,
Yeah.
And
something to be said about watching a horror movie with like bad weather and it's rainy, thunderstorms. Kind of adds to it a little bit. So that's
definitely did.
That's
I think it adds more to it if like you were at home and like out the window it was raining and stuff. Not quite as much in the theater, but it was still you kind of knew what was going on, obviously. And then the middle of the movie, I forgot exactly at what point, but everyone's tornado warning went off on the
I'm
phone.
sure that was pretty funny.
Yeah, that was well, it was kind of like it was in a jump scare type scene, so it kind of scared the crap out of me for a second, because I was like, I've never heard that noise in a movie before. Like, what kind of jump scare is that? And then it was like everyone's phone was going off, and I was like, this is really immersive audio. And then I realized what was going on.
That's funny.
So yeah. But I texted you, Blake, because last time I had to think about tornadoes that seriously was, when was that?
It was Crank. You're over here watching Crank.
Yeah,
that was probably March or something like that.
March or April. Yeah, around there. And I was over at your place with the sirens going off and whatnot, and we were talking about whether or not we even flinch when the tornado sirens come on. I'm gonna start flinching a little bit. It was kind of crazy how close those tornadoes were just to all of our general areas.
Yeah.
They were in Marengo.
Yeah, I know Marengo's a pretty hot spot for them.
Which is where they were Foley lives.
Foley lives in Marengo?
He sure does.
I didn't know.
I thought he was in Huntley for some reason.
No, he's in Marengo.
Yeah, I thought he was.
His sister's in Huntley.
Okay.
But you guys wouldn't have known that.
I would not have known that.
No. But they were all good. Everyone's safe.
Do you need me to bleep that out?
No.
Okay. Just don't want Foley to get doxxed or her sister.
Shit. She doesn't listen, so.
All right, cool. Yeah, no, I know Marengo can get them. I mean, that's pretty rural-ish area. But I feel like there was some in like Des Plaines area near O'Hare. We're not super close to you, Blake, but not too far either.
Yeah, I think they were a little south of me. But
yeah, but like all pretty close. One I think was close to Buffalo Grove, which is closer to me too. So they were around. They were definitely around. Anyway, we can talk more about Twisters next week. This week we're talking about Longlegs. Welcome, of course, listeners, to our main review segment here at Back Row Banter. Nathaniel, if the listener here is new, or maybe they've just forgotten, can you give them a rundown of how our review segment works?
Well, hello there, listener. If you're new or maybe you've just forgotten, how the review segment works here on Back Row Banter is it's broken down into two sections. There's the non-spoiler section, and then there's the spoiler section. It's pretty self-explanatory. In the non-spoiler section, we'll go over the movie itself, who directed it, who's in it, who wrote it, what's about, all that good stuff. We'll go over the IMDb summary and decide if it's good. We'll go around the squadron and decide if we would recommend it. It has to be a yes or no. There is no nuance on the internet. And then it'll be spoiler time. If you don't want to have anything spoiled for you, go ahead and check out. Go ahead and come back in, though, when you see in the show notes, which is going to be marked for you. And you'll want to hear the rest of the episode, especially where we're going to rank it up on our Entropy list, which is our big list of everything we've watched on the podcast ranked. With that being said, Adam, tell me about Longlegs.
I would love to. This is a new movie, rated R, with a runtime of 1 hour and 41 minutes with an IMDb rating of 7.3 out of 10. It is written and directed, of course, by Oz Perkins, as we were talking about before. It stars Micah Monroe as she returns to the Entropy list. This is my only other movie I've seen her in, I think.
Oh, really?
Oh,
yeah. Well, what else is she in? I'm trying to look at her.
She's in a film called Watcher that came out in 2022.
I've not seen that.
It's like almost kind of a pandemic. Might be like late 21 or something like that. That had like a theatrical release and got put on streaming. But pretty darn good film.
She's in The Fifth Wave, which I read the book of that. I never saw the movie. Sorry, that was random a little bit. But and she's in Independence Day Resurgence. I also haven't seen that.
Yeah, I forgot
now
she's
I
in
get
that.
context
Yeah.
here. Okay. So she's still been acting. I just haven't.
Yeah, what was the other one? Is she in The Guest?
Around.
I think she's in The Guest. I really like
The Guest. She is. Yeah, that's another horror kind of thriller joint that came out the past few years. I think it's called The Guest. To your point,
I think that's
The Stranger.
No, I don't think it's that one. I'm pretty sure she's in The Guest.
Oh, she is. Yes, but that's before It Follows. I'm sorry, I was looking after It Follows. Okay. That is technically.
Yeah, I don't know. Pardon me.
They're both the same. They're both the same year on IMDb. It says.
I gotta go to bat for Dan Stevens also in that movie. That dude I think might be like one of my favorite, if not my favorite, current actor working right now. Just always picking random crazy ass roles.
Mm-hmm.
He's the
Dan Stevens.
Yeah, he's the vet in King Kong vs. Godzilla or King Kong.
Oh, that's right. I knew that name sounded familiar.
Yeah, my dude is just always having fun.
That's great. So yes, Micah Monroe is here. Nicolas Cage is here as well, and then we have Blair Underwood, Alicia Witt, Michelle Choi Lee, and I think I'll end there. Like that's kind of the main cast. Who's Agent Carter's wife? Let me see if I can find her name because she's in this a little bit. I think Carmel Ahmet, is this her? Yeah, this looks like her, I think. Anyway, that's your main cast there. The IMDb summary reads as follows. In pursuit of a serial killer, an FBI agent uncovers a series of occult? Okay. A series of occult clues that she must solve to end his terrifying killing spree. I love it.
Whoa.
Short and sweet, to the point. Gives you everything you need to hear without going too far in. That's a great IMDb summary right there. Yeah, fellas, here we are. Probably, I think as we discussed last week, a highly anticipated movie for several members of the podcast, if not all four of us. Probably one of the most anticipated horror movies of the year, besides maybe Maxine. Maxine and Nosferatu are also up there. Anyway, This got a lot of hype before people even saw it. Then people saw it, gained some more hype. So expectations, kind of going in relatively high, at least for myself personally. Where are we coming out of this on the other end? I'm going to give it right to Blake because he seems pretty jazzed to be talking about this movie and may or may not have seen this more than once.
Yeah. This is one we was heavily anticipating. Went in and caught it. Had a good show, good viewing, good turn. This is one of those films that's gonna ironically have long legs in terms of staying in the theater for a long
so good. That was good.
But yeah, man, overall definitely pleased. Oscar Perkins, I've seen other films of his and he's met my expectations. The first one I caught of his was The Black Coat's Daughter, and went into that pretty blind. Walked away as a pretty good film. This one, fast forward some years, went into it with some expectations, and I felt like those are relatively met. Now, granted, expectations in the horror realm can be a little different. Effectively, I wouldn't say this is like the scariest movie ever, but I also don't go into horror expecting to be scared. It's something I chalked up already because I'm a huge horror fan, right? There's other things that the film can provide to me opposed to just like actually scaring me. Not that there aren't scenes in this that unsettle me and make me and kind of make the hair on your neck stand up a little bit.
True.
But yeah, overall, I thoroughly like it. He has the tone that he wants to go for. Seen any of his other films, like the tone that I'm thinking of. And I kind of hated myself for a minute after watching this, that I stayed away from spoilers so much. I almost thought this was buying in that this was a complete, like,
departure.
FBI detective story. Yeah, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't watch trailers. I didn't think that. And then we got like 30, 40 minutes into the movie. Then I was like, why the fuck did I ever think this wouldn't be the movie? Right. Like behind the background, the cult followings and things of that nature, dark entities, is just totally made sense. Like this is 100% the thought it was going to be. But of course, I just brainwashed myself. But yeah, overall, I like it a ton. Highly recommend. I'll have much more to say on spoilers. But yeah, I would say please go see it. I mean, it's a original adaptation. Small budget. I think it did like $24 million opening weekend in box office.
Yep.
And yeah, I think this one's going to be in there for a while. So that's my 2 cents, and I'll deep dive further. But we'll go to Ty.
Yo.
Yeah.
Yeah. I had a good time. I am probably the one to have seen this most recently, which was like approximately an hour and a half, 2 hours ago.
Oh, okay.
And I stayed completely out of spoilers. I think everybody knows me as far as I'm pretty good at staying off of things like X. And my Instagram is inundated with trailers and stuff like that. So I get to stay pretty out of the limelight if I can for movies I don't really know about. And I honestly didn't really know about this movie until we kind of brought it up for the podcast. As big as and anticipated as these guys say it is, which I do believe it was. I just wasn't aware of it to the point where I did not know Nicolas Cage was in this.
I was wondering if you were gonna get that without having that spoiled for you.
And it was great.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was great. I love me some Nick Cage, and we can definitely get into that more in spoilers, but had a blast. Kind of like coming off what Blake said, I don't walk into horror movies expecting to be scared, but they definitely do other things for me mentally, or to appease my film self in different ways, whether it's through the plot or just uncomfortable moments like Blake said, and it does a really good job. There are some jump scares that will potentially get you at some point, but overall, yeah, I had a good time. We'll get into it. We'll get into it. I'm still recommend for sure. I do like it. It is potentially something that I would go back to, probably more like in the winter, in the fall.
Oh, sure.
But yeah, I had a blast. I got a lot of different vibes from this movie. So, but yeah, I'm a recommend. I had a good time. So, Adam, what'd you think?
Similar boat to all of you guys, kind of going in as blind as possible. I think when the trailers first started dropping, and even before the trailer started dropping, I kind of heard about the marketing behind the film and how they're kind of being really weird and cryptic, and like kind of releasing like still images at first, and like that were kind of weird. And then the trailer first dropped, but even before then, I was like, this seems kind of interesting, and people are already kind of like drumming up hype for it, and like I know this looks like a movie that Blake and Nathaniel are gonna want to watch and watch in the pod. So I was like, hands off from then on out. So doing as much as I can to stay away from knowing anything about this movie that I can.
Sure.
So going in, obviously, as the movie came out and it got closer to my screening, it was like new bits and pieces that I didn't necessarily want to know going in, but like weren't necessarily things that like spoiled the movie for me or like set my expectations one way or the other. But anyway, going in as blind as I possibly could, and came out really, really liking it. I think there are aspects of this movie that I was like, this movie is right up my alley, and then and other parts of it were like, I wish this movie was this, and it's not this, but I wish it was. And that and it's more for me, more of a personal preference kind of thing than like this movie doesn't do something right or it's bad in any sense. It's more just like, I wish this movie was this and not this. And I'm trying to keep those in vague terms, but overall, though, I really did enjoy this movie. I would say I had a great time, but it's very scary in some aspects. There were some good jump scares. There were some very tense moments. There's great kind of the director Oz. He's got a great sense of like how to make you feel uneasy, even when he's not trying to like scare you. Just with the way he sets up the camera, the way he frames characters and their environments. And that's like it's just beautiful horror directing in that regard. So if you like horror movies, this is definitely one you're gonna like. I think there's kind of a horror aspect or a horror trope, if you will, for kind of everybody in this one, where like you're gonna find something you like if you are a horror fan. So I highly recommend this movie. Definitely really enjoyed it. Don't know if I'll see it again in theaters, but would definitely be interested in a rewatch to see what I can kind of pick up on a second time around. Nathaniel, you have not spoken yet.
I have not spoken. I've been saving my voice. Yeah, so I saw this a couple days ago now, and I remember immediately coming out of the theater and being like, that is a movie that had so much going for it that was in my wheelhouse and spoke to my sensibilities. But there are definitely 2 or 3 things on there that really kind of brought me out of my suspension of disbelief or moments that kind of broke it for me. And then I've sat with the movie for the last couple days as well too, and fuck it if I haven't kind of forgotten a lot of those points that brought me my suspension of disbelief when I'm remembering the movie, and it is just sticking around with me a lot more. So I feel like that, has to bump it up a level in my own kind of, rating of the film itself as I've kind of marinated on it further. So yeah, I think this one is going to be one that sticks around and has some staying power. I think even for the folks that it doesn't quote unquote scare or anything, I think it's just a really strong concept that I think and ground that I think, as Blake has kind of alluded to, Osgood Perkins has been kind of working on for a while now and defining and refining and kind of like making that his pitch on that and his product, his art of that stronger. And I think this is the result of that at the end of the day, and that it's a really effective little movie that's got a lot going for it. That it's just kind of a mean, nasty, fuck you up little movie, and I'm into that, and so I'm a recommend for sure.
I think that's all 4.
Is that 4 of
Yes,
them?
it is.
Yeah.
I believe so. Recommends all around.
Who would have guessed?
Yeah, for real. So we're gonna go ahead into spoilers. So if you've not seen Longlegs and do not want it spoiled for you, go ahead and check that episode description where I've left a timestamp you can jump to, where you'll be taken to our ranking of the movie Hop Upon our Entropy list.
Hop upon.
What do you got for us this week, Nathaniel?
Well, if you look at the camera, you will see an Ellie snoot, and that is going to be our spoiler sound. Ellie snoot.
This is unfortunately not a video podcast right now.
Well, too bad.
Okay.
Hold on. I'll reach up and over for a spoiler noise.
I guess
we really don't need one. I was just stating, don't do a visual bit on an audio-only podcast. Don't get too used to the video quite yet. We're going to get there.
It's okay. It was sad trumpets.
Oh, I didn't hear it at all.
Spoilers, folks.
Shit goes down.
Shit goes down.
So yeah, I went into this thinking it was going to be more of like a full-fledged police detective, and she's trying to figure out and capture Nicolas Cage. Right, that was kind of like my original thought of this movie. And then we get about 30 minutes in, and then I start to realize there's like a lot of shots and like dark figures that are very similar to the Code's Daughter. If you've seen that film, it's like very set up the same way, where people are speaking and there's entities behind them and things of that nature. And then that's when I was like, okay, I'm fucking an idiot for not thinking that this film would be right, and I felt genuinely stupid sitting in the theater for that. But yeah, overall, man, I'm pleased with it, man. I mean, I think a lot of people's gripes is probably be the climax or the ending, I guess I should say, which is fairly common in most horror, right? Where people will say, hey, it starts awesome, second act is awesome, but then it's hard to wrap up a fucking horror film, right? At the end of the day, unfortunately, it just really is. But I would say it kind of closed all doors on my end from watching it. But I guess we'll kind of just have an open discussion at this point. Then I guess where's everybody at in terms of scare factor, twist, how in depth they were in the movies? Did they were able to catch the devil dark entity figure at multiple points through the movie? I think the first time it actually appears is when Detective Harker, or Mike Moreau's character, is looking at the evidence in the station. Is the first time you can see the devil entity kind of behind there. It's by the American flag and it pops up. I tried to count on one of my viewings. I think I counted 7 or 8 if I remember correctly. But yeah, I'll kind of just ramble, and I guess I'll turn it over to somebody or whoever wants to speak on things they either did or did not like.
Nathaniel, what were the things that you weren't loving at walking out of the theater?
Oh yeah, I thought kind of similar to what Blake said. It was, the ending kind of felt predetermined in a way where it was like, as soon as you saw Detective Harker being there and getting invited to the birthday, and then everyone's birthday, I think, becomes like a plot point, like in a scene or two after that. It really became that whole thing of well, how does this guy just not think about the fact that his daughter is in danger in any way or anything kind of like that,
And he's pretty much oblivious to it the entire time.
Yeah, you're a detective.
Right, yeah. And that was rough. Then, and the other one was the one that I found more jarring was the one which it was the murder scene where the family's been there for like a month. And then the cat's in the carrier. And I was like, how is the cat
alive?
Alive, yeah.
Exactly. Not emaciated.
Yeah.
But is that the devil?
Well, and I thought too, maybe the police put the cat in the carrier to to protect the scene or something like that, was kind of like the way I rationalized it afterwards. But just in the moment of the movie, it just kind of took me out of it for a moment.
Agreed.
I can see that. Yeah.
And so, in backing up a little bit, I don't know why, but I was not expecting it to be as much of a police procedural, I guess, as it was. I guess I felt like it was going to be more almost like a home invasion kind of movie or something like that, where instead we get this kind of it's almost like Oz Perkins' Silence of the Lambs without Hannibal Lecter, or a Seven as well too, was the other thing I got thinking
Super Prisoners.
Sure. Yeah.
Vibe with the detective, kind of work.
Sure.
And trying to get to the bottom of things.
For sure.
I got Zodiac because of all the writings,
Zodiac,
the codes,
for
the
sure.
algorithms.
Yep.
So yeah, those were two that really, really came to mind for me when I was watching this.
Having the young female FBI agent is just so Silence of the Lambs.
Sure.
Silence of the Lambs was my biggest comparison I was drawing watching.
Rightfully so.
Yeah, 100%. And so, to my point, I guess I said those were my kind of initial things that broke me up out of the movie. When I was, but like I said, the Nicolas Cage performance, the method, his basically his style of killing people, and the kind of, not that I didn't see the reveal coming, but the reveal in how it's relayed to the characters was all so strong for me.
Sure.
And so something that I ended up taking with me afterwards that
And when,
those were
real
really
quick, when you're
the
talking
points
about the reveal, though, you're saying the essence that Longlegs is actually living in the basement and the mom's the accomplice, right? Is that the feel you're
and
getting to?
and his method of killing, and the fact that it's
I got
this,
you.
this
Okay, so
like the whole kind of reveal of just exactly what is going on and what has been going on and the extent of what is going on and the extent to which Lee has been manipulated into that. All of that was stuff that I was just very much into. It was just some of the mechanics that we got to get there were a little bit bumpy for me at some points as well too. And I think to echo again exactly what everyone else has been saying, at this point, you know, you and I are horror veterans to the horror hardcores, and Tyler and Adam have seen more horror at this point just from this podcast and being our friends than the majority of average viewers and listeners, I would say, at this point. We're on the verge of no longer being casual horror watchers. So like
our horror genre category has now gone up past casual. Everything else, all other genres of movies
still
that we talk about are still casual.
For sure. But we watch horror movies and go in with an expectation of the way things may go, or like certain tropes that you may go into, or certain structures that are going to be there within it, and aren't necessarily going for the scare, but we're going because we like those elements, because we like to see how those are played differently and are done differently from different directors and with different actors and different writers and that kind of thing. So it's an enjoyment of the genre as well too, and just kind of all of the elements within that genre that I feel like is also separating this for us a little bit as well, and for me personally. So that definitely boosts it up higher, like I said.
Noted. Yeah, I can agree with your points, Nathaniel, on like what kind of took you out of the movie a little bit. I would say from my end of things, I was like super into this for like 30 to 45 minutes. What took me out of it was when we get a hard cut to Longlegs, to Nicolas Cage in his car, and we get that whole scene of like him at the grocery store and stuff, and it's kind of No Country for Old Men kind of thing. That's when I was like, dude, I just felt the air like come out of me. I like sighed. I was like, oh, I don't want to see this. Like to me the suspense was building up so much. We're like, I don't need to see him behind the scenes. Like I would really appreciate if I only see him kind of in the act, like that kind of thing, like or communicating. I only see him or understand him when he's communicating with Lee, or like he comes and visits her in and talks to her or that kind of thing. I was just so wrapped up in the suspense and like that whole scene in her house when she's on the phone with her mom and then sees him or there's a knock on the door and then sees him in the woods, like, and then she goes outside, sees him in the house. Like I was so wrapped up in all of that, and
that's
like
an awesome
so
scene.
Down for it. Oh, it's fantastic.
The home invasion is awesome.
Yeah, and then the second I kind of like got a better look at Longlegs, because I think they set it up so well in the beginning, where like that jump scare with the frame shot where she drops down.
The opening the opening scene we didn't even talk about is fucking awesome, dude.
So the opening scene's incredible.
Scary as hell.
And I want to go back to my points, but beyond the opening scene, I love the opening credits and then the slow expansion of the screen to the wide format. Loved that. But the fact that like we hadn't seen a clear shot of Longlegs, kind of only gotten glimpses here and there, like we have the image in our head, and like I would have loved more of a slow burn on his reveal, or like if you want to give us more of his background as a character, kind of maybe delay it a little bit further into the movie. Now I understand where the movie ends up going is he's kind of captured and taken, and that's kind of not necessarily the start of the third act, but that's the very beginning of the third act, is when he's or around there is when he's kind of like captured or whatever, and she finds the photo of him in the trunk. And so like to get there, it would be a little anticlimactic if we don't see him until that scene. So I kind of get where they were building up to, but I just wish that was maybe the full reveal, is like that scene when she goes and talks to her mom about it, and there was more suspense leading up to there. And that's where I wish like the movie could have. That was for me where I wish the movie would have switched. I also like would have preferred it because when the movie started, I thought it was just gonna be like, oh, this is like psychic Silence of the Lambs. Like I'm down. Like she's kind of got some cool abilities, that kind of thing. And then like I don't necessarily love that it's like the whole devil worship and hail Satan kind of thing. That is like not necessarily a bad thing, just not for me in terms of like what I was hoping in the first act of the movie, what I was hoping this movie would turn into. That wasn't what it was. I was hoping it was more Zodiac and Silence of the Lambs with a psychic, like kind of psychic horror element. Thought that would have been really cool. And while I ultimately don't think they overdid it with like the Satan stuff and like went like full like rituals and like that kind of thing, I think that would have been bad if that like, kind of turned into mech scene at the end. Like if they had that kind of scene going on. Glad they didn't go that far, but I wish they would have. I wish this movie wasn't that, and it's just not, and like that's okay. That's just like a me thing more than anything. But what I do wish the movie did change was the reveal of Longlegs and like kind of us seeing him up close and personal. I wish they would have kind of delayed that and given us more of a slow burn on his thing. So that was probably my biggest criticism of the movie, and that one thing being more of a personal note. So I don't want to kind of offend anyone who is like, that's a stupid thing to be mad about. Like, yeah, it kind of is. It's more of a personal thing, but noted. Just wanted to note that. But in terms of like things I liked, dude, that speaking of that house scene, and I think it happens. He does it once or twice, but when she's at her desk at home, and then just leaves the kitchen door frame in the background.
Oh my god, yeah, it's like 2.5 minutes. That scene is awesome,
man. Messes me up because he's never there. Nothing ever comes out of that door.
Yeah, that's one of the best scenes of the movie.
And it messed me up, dude. Like that when I was talking about earlier, like, you know, kind of shot choice and horror and like that kind of thing. Like he does that a few times. That's the most dramatic example I can think of off the top of my head.
Yeah, there was one where like I think it's when she's at her mother's house, and the way that which she goes to a couple different times, and the way that he decides to frame her first in just a portion of the house, and then later on it's like she's moving throughout the house, but you're always seeing it from like the top floor, and then the final reveal that Longlegs has been living under there the whole time as well too. Like it's exactly what you said. It's that deliberate shot choice to inform your movie and your tone of the film with choice beyond just, well, this is what's going to happen on screen, so this is why we're going to put it here. Kind of thing.
Well, there's another one too.
So good at that.
There's another one too where she's talking to her mom. I think it's the first time, or it might be the second time. Or no, it's the first time we see her mom, I think.
Yeah, when she goes over there.
And she makes her tea or whatever. And he keeps cutting back and forth. You know, every time the mom speaks, you'll see her. But then when Lee's speaking, you see her from, I think it's the kitchen or a different room.
Yeah.
You always see her through the door, and then you see the mom's legs just kind of posted up, not moving, almost like a doll, like sitting in the chair.
Right.
Obviously ties in later on to the whole person the doll thing, and she's now the mom's almost a doll herself, a puppet of the devil, whatever you want to call it. So like just stuff like that is so good, just so good. So, and that's throughout the movie. I would that opening scene we already talked about, but talk about
opening scene is awesome, like, man.
So
that's
good.
That's what sold me, man. That even has the very like quirky like 1980s horror piano key when it goes to different shots, right? When little Lee is like looking at areas when she's nervous. So yeah, man, it's good, man. And so yeah, I mean, all valid points, and there are some gripes with this as well. But yeah, I would say overall though, top to I think it's put together very well. I mean, the cinematography is awesome, the acting is awesome. There are some plot points, right, that could be for some loopholes for sure. But I think I would ultimately probably tad bit disagree with Adam in terms of the satanic part of the film, where it was like ultimately it's like I think that was probably the more interesting part to me. I mean, the Longlegs part is very appealing as well as Nick Cage, but I think kind of finding out that essentially like he's almost in, right,
What'd you say?
Yeah, you cut out there. Sorry.
Oh, sorry. I was like, yeah, but finding out where he's essentially almost insignificant in the grand scheme, right? In terms of he's just also somebody, a doll or who's a pawn, right? Where he's not. Where he even goes on to detail. His work here is done, right? He'll end up being everywhere after this.
Yep.
So yeah. Then even like the metaphorically named legs, they're on the bottom.
Cut out again.
Long legs. We'll pass it to Ty.
Sorry, brother.
No, man. Yeah, I think you guys all pretty much hit on, a lot of the points that, we've all been kind of really playing off of. I would have to, the reveal of Longlegs' face image, I do think it takes away a little bit, but I'm also on the same side of the fence that it's like, I really enjoy kind of seeing Nicolas Cage in that aspect that and being able to give it more character than just like not seeing him, because then it's like almost like, well, then you could have just done anybody. It didn't have to be Nicolas Cage.
Yeah, and there's something too where like the reveal of what he looks like in the hardware scene being so different from what he looks like in the Lee flashback scenes, which like to me that's like the ideal Longlegs or whatever is him at the start of the film or whenever she's small. It's that like when he's seen in the hardware scene, it's like it's been clear that he's had like work done as well too, which I was seeing on
lip filling.
Yeah, which I was seeing on Twitter. One of the creator, I think it was one of like the makeup artist or someone, was like, the idea was that he was like trying to make himself pretty for Satan, and so like he would go and get like crazy like plastic surgery done. And he wanted to look
lip fillers.
He wanted to look like a glam rocker from like the 80s like hair metal band kind of things, and hence that's why he's always doing the singing and stuff like that. But again, he did it in the 80s, so it's all shitty backwater Pacific Northwest surgery, so hence he looks awful by the time you get it. So like it like the reveal of what he looked like made it feel to me like it was almost a mask that he was wearing at that point as well too.
Leatherface.
Yeah, and it wasn't until we get the flashback from the photograph in the story, from the photograph in the trunk, and then the mom telling the story, that we get the full reveal of who Longlegs really is, and like who the most idealized version of it is. To kind of like Adam's point, once he's captured, he's like, well, my work here is done. Yeah, it's already over. The horror of it is the fact that this has all been going on and no one has stopped me, kind of thing, and or been able to, or no one's been able to put it all together, kind of thing. And yeah, so my question for you guys, I guess, would be like, to what extent do you think the Lee doll was influencing her? Because that's kind of like the bit that I'm still kind of wrapping my head around, is at the end when obviously her doll gets shot, it blows up the brain or whatever, and that purple mist comes out, and then she wakes up and kind of thing. And so do you think it was always like the mom telling her the story so that she forgot that Longlegs ever came to live there or something? Is that what the doll was doing? Or
I don't know. I think my takeaway of the dolls is like the mom's telling the story, how the dolls tell the girls like where and where not to look. Right. So I think effectively with that, that's how she has the psychic powers. That's how she knows that the serial killer's in that first house when she sends her colleague to go up there. Right. So essentially it's like, no, she's just not aware to even like look in the basement as a grown.
Okay.
She's not even aware to kind of push any of those narratives at all. I think she's just completely guided by Satan.
You think it's Satan influencing her? Or it's kind of like Satan 100%. Trapping her life and influencing her in just a certain way, and that I picked up on that as well too. That like, okay, well maybe the reason she's considered psychic is because she's got this link with this doll kind of thing as well. Yeah, and has been influenced by it throughout her life and stuff.
Yeah, that's certainly my takeaway.
Yeah, what a crazy like thing to sell your movie on in like the final act. Like, no, there is no it is a supernatural twist. Like it is Satan.
Yeah,
like
I definitely wasn't expecting it. I'm gonna probably be fighting with myself on which way I want to go, whether or not it was a good take. Not necessarily a good take, because they both would have been perfectly fine. I can't really settle with the fact on whether I'm okay with it being something like supernatural, such as possession through a doll,
Right.
or if I would have preferred it to be like a cult.
Sure.
Right.
And it kind of go that direction and, still have some kind of play on the whole religion aspect of the film, but maybe not go as far as full-blown possession through a doll, through another, kind of vein through the movie. So, yeah, I'll at some point, because I'm going to watch it again.
Yeah.
It's definitely a movie that deserves, a watch. Maybe not immediately after, but I could definitely do it immediately after. I don't think, there's a lot of people out there that would or could. But, like we always kind of say, we want to dig into these horror movies a little bit more. These are the kind of the movies that we actually really, like to dig into sometimes. And so, yeah, it's definitely going to get a few more watches for me over the next, year or so. I think it's good. It's just going to be hard for me to constantly decide which way I could have, but it could have been good either way they went. I'm not disappointed in the ending of the third act or anything like that.
Yeah.
The other detective getting her fucking brain ripped out by the mom shotgun.
Oh yeah,
was crazy.
Yeah,
that was a good scene in theaters too, where that was like the first audible reaction that I could hear from like more than one person at a time. Where the camera pans right where it's and then the camera pans to the other detective, the Asian lady, I forgot her name.
Yeah. And
then you can see Elisa Wood's character behind her in the car. And there was like multiple people. It was like, oh shit. It was like one of those, right, with the multiple people. So that's it's I'm with you. I think I'm ultimately all in on the satanic aspect of the film. Maybe that's just a really big horror person.
Well, I think the more that you watch it,
talk about leaning into it.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
I was just gonna say, I think the more you watch it, like at the end of the day, you're not gonna change it. So you're either gonna watch it because you are settling with the idea of that you actually like the way they went, or you just won't watch it because you would have wanted it to be a different ending. But I mean, I'm definitely not mad at the way they went. I just don't know if it could have been better. I'm still totally fine with it. I just wasn't expecting like
it's an unsatisfying end to the mystery of how would you do this in the thing, because most of us just can't in everyday life be like, well, Satan, I got him at my beck and call, and he will influence his family to kill someone or something. But so you like, but it doesn't work logically, but emotionally it works. And obviously, films at the end of the day are about emotions and emotional storytelling, and I think that's where it knows what it's doing there, and it's doing it on purpose as well too. So.
Yeah, because talk about leaning all the way into it. I mean, So the concept is Longlegs worships Satan, right?
Yep.
And then there's these balls that he's putting into these porcelain dolls that he's creating, that use some actual human features and characteristics. And he's putting this silver ball in there that has some satanic effect, right, on whatever all that doll has to do with that silver brain is get brought into the home, and then from there the devil can do all inside the doll to convince somebody in the to kill the rest of the family.
Yep.
Right. And the catch is that Lee Harker's mom, so Mike Monroe's character, Lisa Wood, she's the compliance or the accomplice, pardon me, in Longlegs, I don't know what to say, rampage that he's going on, as she's the person delivering the dolls to people. Of like, hey, the church wanted to offer you a gift for your daughter's birthday, right? Here's the doll. And she has to bring it in there, and it seems like the thing fucking takes effect almost
instantaneously.
Immediately. Yeah. Right, for sure. So yeah, that's not something I can't sit here and say I think anybody would ultimately. Definitely the tie-in to Miss Ruby's birthday, though, is I think what everybody was okay. Once she got invited to the birthday, it's like, that has to be the most important scene of this movie. Right? Like there's just no way around it, for sure. So that's what's strange, is that the detective, and I can't think of her Micah Monroe's boss's character.
Blair.
Yeah, I can't think of Blair Underwood's
Agent
but like
Carter.
Thank you, Agent Carter. It's crazy that Agent Carter is a police detective, like, and his daughter's birthday is like the fucking 13th, and they're like, well, whose birthday's on the 13th? You know what I mean?
Right.
And like, not once
Yeah.
is he like, well, technically, I have a daughter, and her
Right.
birthday's in fucking 2 days. We should be suspicious of that, right? So yeah, I'm with Nathaniel on that one. That shit was a little frustrating, but yeah, I don't know.
I was also a little mad when Lee gets to the house and like doesn't just shoot the doll and blow up the little ball in its head. Like, would that not have
the
stopped
end.
the
Okay.
possession? Like the very end.
You would think, but the mom does say that the wife's already dead.
It's already dead, right? And that was my first thought as well until I rewatched it and like, yeah. So I don't know. So that kind of confused me because now it's almost like there's like a time ripple effect
Yeah.
that goes on in the house,
Yeah.
right? Where like what they're actually seeing is time.
Got it.
I took that as the mom is now so close to Satan that she can kind of like is either like knowledgeable or like knows kind of like how the thing is gonna go, and is just
Right.
like it is just kind of like reading the room, and it's just kind of like yeah, she's maybe she can see that entity that's in the background or something like that more or that kind of thing.
Sure.
And she's
Okay.
just like, yeah, she's already been marked. She's toast. You got like a
Yeah.
minute or two before it gets her too. But like we are on the clock here. And maybe like
Mhm.
that's not normally how it happens or something or like that kind of
Sure.
thing. But she was just seeing it in that moment kind of thing.
Mhm.
And was kind of like,
Right.
you've got an opportunity. But yeah. Which have you, Blake, have you done any kind of like research around the movie or anything like that?
A little bit, just because I've ended up catching it twice.
Sure.
So I guess before I dive into that, though, my question to the group is going to be like, so how do you all feel about like the raw ending of her pointing the gun at the doll, right? Then ultimately,
Not having
it
bullets.
cuts, right, and she doesn't shoot the doll, right? So how do you all take that?
She gets possessed.
Yeah, I mean,
So as
go
ahead.
was it that she couldn't pull the trigger, or was that she was out of bullets?
I think she was out of bullets.
Okay,
I
that's
don't-
what I thought it was too.
I don't know. I don't take it as she's out of bullets though,
'Cause
because
you
she only
hear it.
fired what fucking 4 shots.
Yeah, but then you
Or
hear it
something like
click
that?
twice.
Yeah, that's what I thought too. Thought you
Right.
heard
So
it
I feel
quick.
like I hear
She-
that, but then
she
I
definitely
don't
went
see
to
her.
shoot
I
and
don't see
nothing
her finger
happened,
move
so-
though. Right.
Well, I see her shoot and nothing happens with her gun. So like,
Okay.
I think she was trying to shoot the doll, but for whatever reason, her gun doesn't go off. But it also, I had the same thought you had, where like, well, she only shot twice, so theoretically, she's got at least, I don't know if that's a 5 or 6 shooter, but
Right.
at least 3 or
That
4
was
more
kind of my
shots.
gut.
Maybe
know?
she
Yeah.
just wasn't fully loaded.
Maybe Satan. Could it be Satan?
It could be.
I mean,
Satan.
it could
Could
be.
be.
So like that was my first thought, right? Was like Satan influencing that. But then like my second thought actually goes back to the scene where she's able to do the interrogation with Legs. And he's kind of talking to him like, okay, well, like I know you have other people working for you, but and then he's like, well, ultimately, like some people get a chance of Crimson or Clover. And then she's like, okay, like what's the difference between those? She's like, basically, it's like you either like succumb to the devil, or it's like you get down and do like all the dirty work, as
Yeah.
he was saying. So my takeaway from that is like, okay, I think from there she was given a chance of Crimson or Clover, and obviously if she chooses the latter, the girl has to die. And I
Right.
don't think she wants to do that to the girl. So then I think she chooses the opposite. So then she's now has to be the person who has to fulfill the roles of Longlegs and making these.
Making the
Oh, you
dolls
cut out.
and dropping them off and that kind of thing.
Correct. Yeah. That was my takeaway of the ending.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think that's a bad reading or anything. Obviously, I think it's ambiguous, and you're encouraged to read into it whatever you want at that point. But yeah, I think that's pretty on the money as well too. I think the for me it's kind of like I said, it's the reveal of the mom as the accomplice kind of felt a little out of nowhere in some ways.
I mean, I just feel like I saw it coming. I felt that it was pretty predictable.
Well, it was, I guess
I
the reveal
yeah,
of the
after
accomplice
the-
kind of threw me off in general.
Sure.
That she just kind of seemed to be like, well, there has to be someone else, like out of nowhere as well too.
Well, she had a gut feeling because obviously their mom was the one with her doll.
Which I guess, it all again. Once you've revealed it, it kind of all.
As a viewer, I knew her mom was sus when she was like, "Well, someone's birthday is soon," and then there was a knock on the door right after she said that. I was like, "Something's not right here."
Sure.
So I kind of, Detective Adam, super on the case
the prayers thing where she just starts laughing. Yeah. I was like, wow, this chick's off her rock.
yeah.
Because they made it sound so serious.
In that role, though.
Oh, for sure. Great. She kills it. I mean, I think everybody killed it.
Yeah.
Yeah. What does he say at the beginning? I've got my long legs on today.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So the thing that we're going with then is that like the dolls are the short legs. He's got the long legs now, so he's out and like talking to people.
Out and about.
Yeah. That's kind of where I was going with that.
Gross.
Oh, okay. That's interesting. Yeah, that's not the way I took that. I mean, I guess I took that in terms of just him being like devil and just being like all the way down. So just an incredibly long-legged figure. And then like on the other side, this is kind of one I saw somebody bring this up in some few forums that was in section one I didn't even think of, but it's more so of like long legs in the name of like Daddy Longlegs.
Yeah,
Spider.
of course. Yeah.
And Lee Harker doesn't have a father figure in this movie.
Sure.
Or essentially it turns out to be.
Yeah.
Right. Which we don't even know who her father is. Like, do we think? I don't know. He kind of just comes up randomly out the blue. Is that like somebody who past life, right? Who's coming up to? Who knows?
Yeah. I mean, it's the to like the read into it more and like some more of like I know what like I guess Osgood Perkins and Nicolas Cage have talked about as well too, is that like part of the inspiration for this was their moms telling them stories as throughout their childhood or as kids to like to hide or to shine attention away from a bad thing or a thing that was painful or something.
Sure.
So like for Osgood Perkins, I know he's been on record and talked about it, was that his dad, Anthony Perkins, Norman Bates, was a closeted gay man and was married to his mom as well too. And despite having children, he was basically gay and had lived that like kind of in secret later in life. And I think his mom had a lot to do with that too. So again, once you get that kind of framing for it, I feel like the film really like kind of can get locked into certain things. So I'm glad there is still that ambiguity in there as well too.
Yeah. A lot of room for that in different lanes of interpretation. What about in terms of like scares? So we don't think this is the scariest of all time. I think we all kind of went on that. But are there any scenes here that like ultimately did make you anxious, maybe hair on the back of your neck stand up or make you uncomfortable? There's two and one. I would say one ultimately because I've watched it on multiple occasions and it got me.
For me, I would just say the opening scene.
Yeah.
I think it does a great job at just kind of kicking things off. It does try to give you a little bit of a jump scare right at the end to kind of get you back into the movie. And so, yeah, I would say for me, that was kind of the most like we get to see a glimpse of Longlegs and kind of what his character costume design looks like and, everything like that. And so, and you get kind of like an idea of what trek of crazy are they going to put him on. And so, yeah, I think that was probably one of the more important parts for me.
I gotcha.
Yeah,
Nathaniel,
I don't remember a certain moment where I felt very like intensely scared, but like it was definitely the like there was one the opening scene and then the return to it with combining with the photograph effect and then that kind of launch into having Nicolas Cage all of a sudden up in our face in that kind of moment. I was just like, fuck. Like, what is this dude's deal? Like, what is going on, man? And that was unsettling and just kind of like, what the hell? And then that also got backed up, which was another moment I thought maybe Adam was thinking about later too, when they do the interrogation and you see it and it starts with the videotape and then they pause it and it's framed in such a way that the face of Nicolas Cage is looking at, or the eye lines looking at the characters in the room, and you're just like, what the hell is going to happen? What is going on? Like, is he going to start talking on that TV right now? And like, that was another one where I was just like thinking back on it, where I was just like, man, Perkins got the goods on this one. He's got the juice.
I'm so glad you said that, man, because that's such a good scene. Because right before that, he's really going through, and I forgot the exact verbiage, but he's mentioning, like, as he's sitting there to the camera in whatever cell he's being held in, right? But he's mentioning, like, you'll be there,
you'll be there, yeah,
and you'll be there. But like, and he's like, as he's talking to the camera, he's like moving his head, talking to people actually there, and the way they're positioned in the actual like viewing room of the TV, it points to like Agent Carter, Lee Harker, and the other detective when he just like goes to you'll be there, and I'm like, oh man, that's so
unsettling, very unsettling.
Yeah. Adam,
that house invasion scene, if you want to call it that, always gets me, especially with that shot in the kitchen.
Finding the doll in the barn too. That was a fucked scene.
Yo, yeah, that was odd as well.
Did you catch the devil entity in that scene, Adam? Because at one point it is in the doorway and it's very.
Oh yeah.
In the house invasion scene.
Yeah.
In the kitchen doorway.
Yeah, but it's after she goes outside and returns back, and the note's on the table. So when she's reading the note in the camera, you can still, it's the same camera angle. You can see the door frame. You can see the devil entities right there in the corner.
I can't remember exactly. I did notice them doing. So you said that other than like the obvious times they show the presence, whatever you want to call it. I didn't really, and it's subtle because I could tell like they were affecting, you know, kind of dark levels and certain scenes. That was also something interesting. Was like they would hold a shot and they would just kind of like raise the black levels and like make scenes darker, which like, I thought was a great effect. It worked really well. So I kind of noticed they were doing that, and I didn't notice too many times that the presence was there. So I definitely am interested in a rewatch to kind of look out for that. But I do kind of remember they're seeing something in the doorway, and then I think when they look back, it's not there anymore. So I was like, oh, I guess
right. And that totally makes sense too, because the times I was able to catch it, it's not there for the entire frame. Right? It'll actually like fade out during the frame. It's like you will actually only be able to catch it for like maybe 2 seconds, a second and a half. And then it slowly fades out to where it's just now like a black shadow in the corner of the room.
Yeah, they definitely did it in the window.
Yeah, definitely did in the window. That one's more obvious though.
So they do it. The first time is at the police station where she's sitting on the ground looking at all the pictures. It's by the American flag. The next time is when she looks out the window of the home invasion thing and she sees sitting. There's also the entity behind him.
Yeah.
Okay. After that, it's when she's reading the note in her own living room that dropped off. Right? It's right there behind her. The other time is this first scene where she goes to visit her mom and she's in the kitchen and you're talking about it's a shot with feet and kind of like she's a doll. And she's a really eerie shot too, because you're watching it, you're like, is somebody gonna like walk across the door frame or something like that? But you can see the front door, and the front door's got like that window above it. And then eventually you can see the devil entity at the top of that door frame. Right. So those are kind of just quick, like 4 instances that I can recall. And obviously some later on when they go to Agent Carter's house, this is the see on the frame there. So it got to about, I want to say it's 5, 6, 7 times that I could recall. Can't pinpoint them all right. Then obviously there's the really obvious one. But yeah, all valid points. I'm surprised no one said the one that really got to me, or maybe it was just because I was this far invested into the plot and just kind of like how eerie it was. But the thing that really only got me viewings is the scene after Lee Harker's mom kills the agent, right? And then she like runs outside and she sees her mom standing there with the gun and she's got it aimed at the doll that looks like Lee Harker's child. That's the only time that has made me nauseous.
Really?
Seeing that, I was like, oh, that just makes me feel really uncomfortable. Yeah, because the doll looks just like her. It looked just like her, how she was dressed, like in the original scenes with the pigtails, the same clothes and sweater. And I knew it was a doll, but I'm just like, so uncomfortable.
Yeah, and there's also there's something about the way it's shot and it kind of framed almost, and just I don't know the overall look of that shot.
Yeah, I was
does
like,
make you feel somewhat uneasy because I can agree with you on
Yeah.
that. I remember that shot coming up, and I was just like,
I was gonna say for me, the other one is the fucking turn on Kiernan Shipka when she visits her in the insane asylum.
Oh, yeah. Where
And
at
then
first she seems like a mental patient, and then you're like, well, wait a minute.
and
She's
then
like all the way there.
yeah, and then she goes full devil
Yeah.
mode, and you're just like, holy
Yeah.
shit, you are
Yeah.
insane. Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. And then she's got that weird sing-songy rhyme pattern that was only
Yeah.
echoed by Nicolas Cage as well too.
I'm not gonna lie, that didn't work for me.
Oh,
that
no,
was actually a moment
yeah.
that kind of like pulled me out. Where
It's,
like
it's,
I
it's
was
a little
like,
cheesy, but yeah, I mean,
it's a little over the top.
Now, for me,
yeah.
that felt very Shakespeare. That felt very Macbeth, very dramatic in like a play style kind of thing of like where you have this character that is speaking now completely different to everyone else and is like also kind of like has that weird things because like
that was like very Robert Eggers to me.
yeah, and like you guys have all worked retail. Sometimes you meet those people that they have that weird music about them, but you're just like, you are not all the way there, man. And like, I don't know. It just that one freaked me out as well too.
Yeah.
But I understand.
I think it worked for me.
You didn't think it?
No, I think it did.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
For me, it wasn't necessarily the idea of it. It was more the execution in terms of like just the line delivery kind of thing.
Yeah.
I don't know. I get where they're going. Just there was something about it for me that just didn't work in terms of execution. But it could just be a me thing.
Yeah. Did the scene where the her former colleague, right, rest in peace, my man, gets his fucking head blown off to that, like that was a jump scare that did get me. Where I was kind of thinking something happened, but I was like, oh my god, I didn't think he'd just get fucking domed as soon as he opened the door.
What does the guy say?
Oh yeah, that did scare me a little bit.
When she goes into the room afterwards and he gives himself up and he's facing the wall. What does he say? I couldn't understand him.
I thought he said where she was like, "Don't move" or something like that, and I thought he said like, "I'm not going," or something along the lines of that. I don't think there was anything really cryptic.
Okay, got it.
Yeah, no, I don't think
there were some times where like things came up very abruptly from a dialogue standpoint, and you couldn't really grasp what they said.
Yeah.
One of them was from Nicolas Cage as well. They like throw his dialogue in somewhere really quick, and I'm like, I have no idea what he just said.
I had a tough time when he was in the car after the hardware stream, and he's singing, screaming, and I couldn't quite make out what he's saying.
Yeah.
Now, like I was able to go on IMDb, and like people had the quotes up later, so I was able to figure
all
it
I
out.
got out of that was like mommy and daddy, but that was like that's when I was like, okay, that's definitely Nicolas Cage.
Yeah,
right
sure.
there. That was like the most Nicolas Cage scene in the entire fucking movie.
It's something. I think it's something like "Mommy, Daddy, come here, help unmake me." And I was like, "Well, that's fucking terrifying dialogue."
Oh, and then when Nicolas Cage kills himself.
Oh yeah,
insane.
Yeah,
I kind of knew it was coming because like you just
for sure.
One, you just get the vibe right away, and two, you're like, well, there's no other way he can do this.
Yeah.
So I'm like, I'm full blown expecting him to just blow his face up on this table, and that's exactly what he does, and it's great.
Yeah.
One last thing. Go ahead. We gotta get going here. A lot of like presidential imagery as well. Anyone notice that?
Do you want to know? You want to know what time period this movie takes place in? Look at the fucking wall.
I did see a great tweet that was like, it's just something. It was like seen in Longlegs. It's like we returned to the interior office. The Bill Clinton photo is 20% bigger.
Yeah, I don't know what that's there for.
I think it's just there to give you a time period.
Right. Well, yeah, and Adam,
I don't know.
You might not know this, and you might not have because you weren't around for it, quite literally. But during the mid-'90s, there was this big satanic panic thing that like kind of went down where everyone was like, the kids are worshiping the devil.
Cults.
It's in your school. Yeah, all that was a big thing, and there was like that like thing in the media where like kids were saying that they'd been abused and like stuff like that. So I feel like setting it there is this purposeful thing of like, well, what if there actually was a guy out there that was doing this at this time, and like what might that be like? And because if you set it in the 90s, you don't have to deal with the smartphone, which gives everyone the answer.
Well, no, I understand. I don't know. To me, it was like they hit you over the head with it. Like, I don't know, it's felt more intentional. Maybe there was more purpose behind it than just that. Because like you have the one shot in Carter's office where Bill Clinton's very present, and then there's another shot of Reagan's portrait in the mom's home. And then I think there was one other time there's a president featured. I don't remember exactly.
Because Reagan is Satan.
Well, I'm not gonna fight you on that one.
I don't know if the imagery could be much simpler, bro.
That's the entity that we missed. That's the.
I think that's just something you found back in the 90s too. Like there, like
100%.
when you were in police stations, they had pictures of their presidents up on the wall. Like your grandparents probably had a picture of whatever president was in their house, or something like that. It was I think it was just different times. But I don't know
for sure.
Maybe I'm reading into it too much. Maybe it's just a setting thing. Anyway, any other big points we want to touch on here, because we are running a little bit long here, I'm not gonna lie.
Yeah, no, just side note, I just think the cast in this is awesome. So I think everyone acts their ass off. The cinematography in this is awesome.
It's great. It's a beautiful movie.
Yeah, there's a score that's like prevalent, but it's not like it's not annoying. Yeah, man, there's some stilled images in this that are very good that'll probably go for some time. So yeah, man, it's highly recommend. It's horror though, man. So like it's hard because I think unfortunately this is gonna suffer from this movie's so good and people are gonna watch it and scare.
Get over.
And like that's the unfortunate part of when you have good horror movies is how it goes. So that sucks.
Yeah. Shout out Blair Underwood. He was always fun on screen.
And Alicia Wood. Who was in Urban Legend? Anybody seen Urban Legend?
I've seen the TV version of Urban Legend.
Okay.
They used to be on like TNT or something in like the
for
90s.
Sure, yeah, and like in MTV in like 2003.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. I had to go back and look. I was like, she looks so familiar. Then I was like, but yeah, Urban Legend, man, give it a shot. It's like a 90s slasher, like fucking Scream on a college campus.
Might have to.
Yeah. Let's rank it.
Yeah, let's get her up. Welcome back, listeners who skipped over the spoiler segment of the podcast. We're going to go ahead and throw up Longlegs up upon our Entropy list. For those of you who do not know, the Entropy list is Back Row Banter's official list of all the movies we have reviewed, regardless of genre, regardless of anything else, all on one fantastic list. This is essentially how we rate our movies, rather than do it out of 5 stars, out of 10, whatever that ends up looking like. We throw up all the movies we review and see how they compare to one another. If you want to view the entry list for yourself, you can do so by checking that episode description. Mr. Longlegs, getting that entered up upon here. What an insane movie poster that Letterboxd has.
What is it? Oh, that's actually pretty cool.
Have you seen it, or are you looking at it?
Yeah, where it looks like it's obviously all the dead bodies just kind of stacked there, and they got a sheet over it.
Well, it's just the one, I think.
Oh no, this looks like multiple to me.
Am I looking at this wrong?
It's one of the like crime scene photos, right?
Yeah, it's one of the crime scene photos on Letterboxd, at least. I don't know what does IMDb have. Oh, IMDb has Lee Harker.
No,
there's multiple bodies there.
Yeah, they're sitting up next to each other, propped up next to each other.
Oh yeah,
definitely better than the IMDb
okay.
poster though. I don't like the IMDb poster.
Now the Letterboxd background image also weird as hell.
That was a weird scene for sure. I'll give you that one.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Lots of horror to compare this to. I guess the biggest kind of comparison is does it break out of the kind of 90 to 100 and whatever it is of horror that we've kind of built up there. The horror wall, some people are calling it.
Some people.
I think it does.
94, starting with The Descent, kind of has a nice string of horror kind of mixed in there all the way to like 110. So I agree. I think it breaks out of that mold. Does anyone have an early ranking they want to throw out there?
I'm gonna let somebody else go first.
Yeah, I know, right?
60.
You read my mind, friend.
Right below The Boy and the Heron, above Nightcrawler. I do think that this has some phenomenal qualities about it. I do think this is a great movie. I actually would probably watch this again before I watch It Follows.
Oh, wow.
See, that's the one. It's that. So, like, I was with you as well, too. And I even saw it at 16. I was like, that feels right. But then I rolled up there to see, like, what else it would be up against if I went higher. Because, you know, I think there could be an argument in there. But then I just saw Nope 53, Conjuring 51, It Follows 48. And I was like, yeah. I don't know if I'm above there. And then you got OG Scream at 56. Right there.
Yeah. So you do hit some pretty hard walls. Nope is a big one for me from a horror standpoint. The Conjuring was like epic when it first came out. You know,
hard to overstate how big of an effect I feel like that movie had on the horror industry at that time.
Yeah, in real time for sure. Yeah.
It was like, oh, Blumhouse is here to play. Like, James Wan's a god. Like, we're here.
Yeah, you know, we got really stacked horror up top with The Shining, Halloween, Hereditary.
Yeah.
Get Out. So it's not like it's not represented well in the list. I just think that, you know, because of where everything else is kind of falling currently, I think that's kind of like the best spot for me at least. So I'm gonna lock it in at 60.
I am going to second you at 60.
Gang.
I'm not gonna lie, that's a great spot, and I will join you guys there at 60.
Dude.
Fair enough.
I'm so good at this game.
Yeah, I'm higher than the gang here.
And
which
like
is fine.
Like I said, I would put this above It Follows if it was just the two of them going against each other. But when you run into things like The Conjuring and Nope, it's hard to
and Scream.
Yeah, I think you guys are just always going to be a little heavier on Scream than I will be. I love Scream, but I just never.
Yeah, I agree. You guys are, which is fine. You know, you guys have your personal attachments there. I'm just not going to be there.
Yeah, but like Civil War is like also right there. That's a hard
Civil
wall
War
to
is the one
pass.
I'll back up.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's just I think just because this is a byproduct of the list.
Mm-hmm.
So but it's still a killer spot. I'm sorry.
Yeah, no, totally fine. And yeah, I don't think you guys are sliding the film by 60 at all, right? To your point, it's above American Psycho, which is a film I feel deeply for. So yeah, Scream, I think one is just ultimately, I think it's just gotten the short end of the stick. But then when I look at comparing this to like Conjuring, it's like, I don't know. I think to Nathaniel's point, The Conjuring was such a moment in time in like 2013 for the horror community.
Yep.
But as far as like the type of horror I genuinely like, this is 100% mine.
Sure.
Opposed to the Conjuring film.
Sure.
Right. Where like The Conjuring's an awesome movie, but like that's not my ideal type of horror movie. Where this is very much mine, the slow burn. What's going on? Is there religion undertone, panic going on? So I think effectively I would put this over The Conjuring. And then It Follows is like where it kind of gets tricky to me. Where It Follows plays a huge role in just kind of my movie viewing experience, especially going into like something blind. That's probably one of my favorite going in blind movie experience. It also happens to have Micah Monroe. So I think that's where I start to get a little sticky. It's definitely not in the vein Midsummer, Hereditary, Alien. Like I'm not jumping that far. I certainly don't think it's there. But then I'm looking at like Green Room, and it's like, okay, objectively, so Green Room, I would say, is the first movie in that second tier of horror films that we have. And then it's like, do I like this more than Green Room? And I think I do.
Yeah.
So I think I would put it at 26 because I do not like. So I think that's where I would fall. Because I love 9 Days, so I can't put it above 9 Days. I would go 26.
Good on you, mate.
Fair, man. That's fair, man. Not mad at all at that.
Nah, movie's got a ton of potential.
Yeah, it does.
And you
And who
know,
knows,
if this is
maybe-
something that, you know, I would have caught in like, you know, the same age I caught The Conjuring at, like you're in a total different ball game. But I've seen too much.
For sure. Like we said, it's not the scariest film.
No.
I would argue The Conjuring was probably scared me more on first view than this.
For sure.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah.
But you know what, man? You'll always be his girl.
Yeah. That's what they say.
That, of course, ladies and gentlemen, will give us an average rating, a ranking of 51.5, meaning it goes right below, you guessed it, The Conjuring. Right below The Conjuring and right
That's
above
funny.
John Wick. Yeah, I know. Good
That's
spot
light,
for it,
ain't it?
though. It is. Maybe next July we can see about moving that up or down a little bit. Who knows? All right, that's it for our review here. Longlegs at 52. Our next review, ladies and gentlemen, will be a movie called Twisters. Twisters, plural. Twisters, right? Plural.
It's actually Twistas, and it's starring the rap artist Twista. But there's
That's actually
Love it.
really funny.
I'm down.
That's great.
It's just him in a mirror.
just rapping really fast to himself.
And that creates a world.
Either that, or they should have just completely put him in this movie, like how they have LL Cool
100%.
J and like fucking Deep Blue Sea, and just
yeah.
have him just fucking be a real character.
Yeah.
Fucking.
Just so he can go Twista.
Amazing. But yeah, go check out Twisters. Join us next week for our review. I think that's gonna do it here. We're gonna move on out of here pretty quick. It's been a long one. It's been a good review. I'm glad we took our time on that one because there was a lot to unpack and very good spoiler segment. If you were a listener who skipped over the spoilers, definitely go check out Longlegs and come back for our spoiler review because I think it was definitely one of our better spoiler casts. If you want to put it that way. Let's see. Let's get on out of here. This, of course, ladies and gentlemen, is a Mags Up podcast. We want to shout out the Mags Up crew over there and plug them as well. Go follow them on Twitter. Check out all they're doing in the esports and content creation space. They are a great group of guys over there. And maybe gals. I don't know how many gals are involved, but if there are, I apologize for not including in the original shout out there. Anyway, while you're doing that, you can also follow us on Twitter at Banter Row, on Instagram at Back Row Banter Pod, and our YouTube is just Back Row Banter. And then our email for any questions, comments, concerns, grievances, or anything of that sort is backrowbanterpod@gmail.com. And of course, share the podcast. Share with a friend, a family member, a porcelain doll, or your mom, who may or may not be a Satan worshiper.
Bit of sizzle.
True.
Bit of sizzle. Tyler Vidalis, where can the people find you at, my man?
You could find me on Instagram, Letterboxd, and X, all at Tyler Vidalis, Vidales. Nathaniel.
You can find me on Twitter and Instagram at or Twitter and Letterboxd at NS Gingrich. You can find me on Instagram, Nathaniel G92. Blake.
Letterboxd, BlakeHolder. I'll be on there logging some things, rate them out of 5 stars. PSN, Mr. Watercoolers. Xbox, Mr. Watercoolers. Instagram, Mr. Watercoolers. My last?
Yeah, I think that's it.
All right. Thanks for listening. Come by next week for, is it Twisters with an S, plural?
Yes, plural. Well, it's actually Twistas with the, like a AHS.
Okay. I gotcha. Come by next week for Twisted. We'll BRB.
America. Ready for another lesson.
Blake, did you decide? Are you getting NCAA on Friday?
I think so, man. I've been watching some gameplay on YouTube.
Yeah.
Yeah, more gameplay than I'd like to admit. So I think I'm gonna fold and buy it, bro.
Yeah, I'm thinking the same thing. A lot of people are playing it already, and I just have
Now,
no interest
I
in
assume
spending
I
extra
haven't
money.
Right, because I know some people you could have got the deluxe, right? Where
Oh,
Yeah,
is
if
that
you
what they're
pay
doing?
an extra
Tuesday.
$30, you get the deluxe, and then you get to play it on starting Monday. Or you could get I think it's called the MVP edition. That's the Madden and NCAA bundle. I have no
Ew.
interest in playing Madden,
Yeah,
so
no,
I'm
man.
definitely not buying that. And I have the self-restraint to wait 4 days and not pay $3.
Facts. Facts.
So yeah, I'm just waiting for Friday.
Okay. I assume it's crossplay, right?
It is. I did look that up. It is crossplay.
I would imagine. Okay. Because
Yeah.
I'll have to get that for PS5, which I imagine you'll get it for Xbox.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's something we may have
I'll hit
to.
you up. We can.
We
get
may
to
have
those.
to do that, bro. Yeah.
Better we do
cannot
the
play
old
football games.
let's get a pizza and some soda and we just live it up all night on Friday.
Do LAN party?
That's an option as well.
LAN party.
Oh my God, I haven't heard that in a long time.
Can you LAN party in your basement, Ty?
Blame, fuck yeah, dude.
Let's go.
If I could like replicate what we used to play in, I would,
Gonna have to find some CRT TVs and
dude. Cardboard walls, everything.
Yeah, it's dope.
Cardboard walls.
Fucking Mountain Dew everywhere. Kids are just cracked out of their minds and
Code
fucking
Red.
Halo. Insane.
I'd
Everyone's
run up
screaming
a
at each
Halo
other.
LAN in a second.
Dude.
MCC, we still got it.
Just so much shotties and snipers, pistols
Shotty
and
snipes.
launchers.
Customs, you got the Mongoose Run. You could play what was that one, Duck Hunt, where one
Mhm.
person's a sniper and you got the obstacle course that they're trying to pick you off from.
Yep.
Yeah, I didn't have friends.
Oh.
All right. Well, this took a turn.
yeah. Thanks, Nathaniel. Jeez.
No, I think it was more.
Save it for your therapist, dog.
We
Just
didn't.
kidding.
We didn't play video
We
games.
can talk about
very
it.
much.
We can talk about it.
We didn't play video games like that until everyone got like Xbox Live,
Mm,
and then that's when we really got into it. But
yeah, no, we were gamers, dude.
we just played football and basketball in the cul-de-sac, and went hiking in the desert.
No,
Co-
we
co-
did.
co-
We were outside a lot, but
I was gonna
For
say, I
sure.
feel like you were for sure.
yeah, I mean, but there was just a time when it just turned, and we were all just fucking gremlins in a basement.
Yeah, I was probably still just playing Pokemon. or
Back when it
something.
was a healthy mix of like, screen time and
Yeah,
physical activity.
Oh,
Yeah,
for sure. Yeah.
because you were still also made to
2000 shit.
do like sports.
Yeah.
Like your parents were
Right.
like, "You're playing football."
We played. Yeah, I can't remember a time when I didn't have either a little league game or a fucking basketball game
Yeah.
for a while there or something. or
Yeah, I was still
soccer.
super active, but I
Yeah.
can definitely, I know like right when the turning point was, where I was like, I could spend a lot of time playing video games.
See, I've always had that itch to just play games. Always wanted to play sports and stuff. But like, yeah, I remember.
Well, you were also born in
Those times.
2012, so a little
Yep. For
well,
sure.
different
dude.
times, right?
Yeah, very different times. You're right. 2012. What a year.
Isn't that the year where they said the world was going to end? Is that
Yes,
2012?
it
that's
was.
the one.
Yes, it was.
Yeah. Shout
Here
out
we
to
There's
those
a
are.
guys.
whole movie about it.